Intel. Okay, so the video that I made before this one is all about the wealth transfer, and I've got intel that's showing it is definitely happening very soon. Okay, so there's an operation now that's in play. It's called Operation Sandman. It's going on, and it is basically taking down the petrodollar. It is, I mentioned this in the last video, that a lot of the central bank or the World Bank is not having the power that they had in the past. So countries are starting to bypass them. Now that they're going to bypass them, what good is the dollar? It then messes up the Federal Reserve. So their reserve, which isn't backed by anything at this point, is really going to really collapse and make everything suffer. So that really does back up that the quantum financial system is set up, it's in play, it's ready to go, and we just kind of have to sit and wait. Things are happening. So that operation is in play right now where everybody's stepping away from the petrodollar, which is the oil dollar, and people are stepping away from just the dollar itself. Okay, other news I have has to do with an operation that is going to be taking place in February. The date is somewhat, up in the air. It's an operation, so we're not going to get the actual date. But it's a joint military effort, and it has to do with Russia, China, and South Africa joining up. Now remember, they're in the BRICS, so they're already buddying up anyway financially. Now they're joining up with their power. Now the rumor is that there's going to be some sort of operation that's going to take place in South America. So anything else I get, I will let you know. But right now, it's up in the air. They really don't know what the operation is, but the talk now out there is that it may have something to do with South America. Okay, and now the last bit of intel that I wanted to share really has to do with a video I made last year where I was talking about a space ark that was in Ukraine, and that they were kind of like, this is kind of like what the war is about, other than other things. Who's going to control this ark? It's a space ark, spaceship. And there's a few that are all over the world, positioned in certain places. And I shared that there was an anonymous person in the military who was allowed to share certain things. So this person went on Michael Sala's show and spoke about this space ark and how certain people with certain DNA could enter the ark and it would turn on, it would light up. And they were saying at this point that there was one definitely in the Bermuda Triangle area, and there's another one in what they call Devil's Gate in Ukraine. And apparently the dark ETs, those of you who still are not on board that we are not alone in this solar system, I don't know what to say to you guys. But anyway, the dark ETs tried to seize the space ark and go in it, but it wouldn't activate. So the positive ETs, this is literally coming from people who are saying that they are in the area and they're talking about it. This is intel, guys. This is coming out that space ark was basically the Galactics took hold of it and they are protecting it so that the negative ETs couldn't get to it. So there seemed to be something with this Devil's Gate in Ukraine that has to do probably with the reptilians. Those of you who still don't believe, you're just going to have to wait until all this plays out. They're already telling us and disclosing we are not alone, and they have been working with these beings for a long time. Okay, it goes all the way back to even Eisenhower, Kennedy.
To unpack JFK's UFO connection, we've got to go back to a 35mm roll of film, which when developed showed a document that was labeled Top Secret, Magic Eyes Only, and read, Briefing Document, Operation Majestic 12, prepared for President-elect Dwight D. Eisenhower Eyes Only, November 16, 1952. It then goes on and describes details of a crashed flying saucer from Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, the subsequent contact with ETs, and a secret group of 12 government officials known as the Majestic 12 who were tasked with maintaining this cover-up of what happened in Roswell.
Let's say you're president. I come up to you and I say, Mr. President, we've recovered technology and bodies that don't seem to have come from this planet. What do you do with that? Are you going to tell the world? Bad idea. Do you want to tell the Russians that we've got this exotic technology? So what would you do? You would say, okay, we're going to form this group for now, just for now. We call it MJ12, and we're going to figure this out.
On this document was a list of 12 names. The names included people like Roscoe Hillenkoetter, first ever director of the CIA, Dr. Vannevar Bush from the Manhattan Project, who once referred to UFOs as the most highly classified subject in the US government, even higher than the H-bomb. And the most interesting one was James Forrestal, the first ever Secretary of Defense for the United States, a position that was literally created for Forrestal, ironically just 2 months after the Roswell incident and only 1 week before MJ12 was formed.
Yes, MJ12 was created in the aftermath of Roswell. At the same time, the CIA was formulated, and then MJ12. It all happened at once.
Here's why this is interesting. James Forrestal also happened to be a close friend and mentor to John F. Kennedy, who was a naval intelligence officer on Forrestal's personal staff at the time. There's even pictures of the two of them flying into Germany months after World War II ended to assess the situation and help decide what to do with a post-war German working on.
Germans during World War II were absolutely interested in some very advanced physics and unconventional physics too. And I do think that the Germans were interested in flying disc technology.
One of these German scientists was Hermann Oberth, known today as the father of modern-day rocketry, who's been quoted saying this about German technology: "We cannot take the credit for our record advancement in certain scientific fields alone. We have been helped by people of other worlds."
And so when the flying saucer wave hit the United States in 47, we have documents discussing how the Air Force was talking to the German people that were brought over, basically saying, does anyone know what these things could be? Like, did you guys have anything to do with this?
Point being, it's likely that Forrestal learned about UFOs and extraterrestrials at the end of World War II, and given their close relationship, JFK likely knew what Forrestal knew.
I mean, these presidents have been working with the ETs, and their documentation is coming out. So with that, I was just really excited, and I wanted to leave you a video that I found, just giving you a little bit of information on how QFS operates, and then we'll just see if I come up with any more information. I'll be back on to share with you.
Welcome. Today we've got Emily Tang, and today we are going to be discussing how the quantum financial system actually works.
QFS can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think for many people who've been in the Q movement, it usually starts with the fact that the Khazarians have taken over the banking system, and so the white hats are basically flushing that money into a new system. Because a lot of people have been talking about how there's a quantum financial system, but I think until you actually put the blockchain into it, it hasn't really gone quantum yet. So for me, quantum equals blockchain.
Okay, so what is blockchain? Let's just, most people outside of this community have no idea what blockchain is. So when you say we need the blockchain to go into the quantum financial system, what do you mean by that? How could you break that down in layman's terms?
Sure. So blockchain essentially is just putting information online. That's kind of as simple as it gets when you're tokenizing something. So essentially think of it kind of like, in the accounting world, as we know it today, you have a ledger system, usually through some kind of financial software. Even more basic is purely just a ledger on, pen and paper. And so what we're doing right now is we're transferring all of the world's financial system onto the blockchain. So think of it kind of like it's going onto the cloud, so to speak, except for in the future, it's going to be run by quantum computers. So it's going to be unhackable. And the reason why this is so important is because right now, as you and I both know, the financial system, there's a lot of hacking, there's a lot of rigging, manipulation, laundering, etc. And what happens is when you put everything onto the blockchain, because it's now going to be transparent for the world to see, you're not going to have the kind of money laundering that's going around today. And the reason is because anybody can actually view what's on the blockchain. You might see it as a pseudonym or kind of anonymous viewing, but the fact that anybody can see all the transactions is what makes the program so special. So for instance, in the future, Nick, it won't matter if I'm looking at your wallet or the government's wallet or a banking wallet. I can see all the transactions that have flown in and out. And so that's how you can actually track, follow the money. So a lot of people, they kind of mistake the difference between pseudonymity and anonymity. So for instance, on the blockchain, we actually have what's called pseudonymity. And what that essentially means is everybody has what's called a wallet. It's a number. And so your identity is protected unless you choose to let people know that this is particularly your wallet. So what it looks like is a long string of letters and numbers, etc. And so say, for instance, if that person knows it's my wallet, which many people know which ones are mine, then they would just know that all those transactions belong to me. It doesn't have my name, it doesn't have my address, my contact information, nothing on there. And so that's what you mean by pseudonymity. It's really no different than saying, like, for instance, I'm on Telegram, and on Telegram, my name is Patriot Cakes. So that makes me, that's a pseudonym because people know me as that nickname. So on the ledger, people would know me as this wallet.